Hey, folks, good morning and welcome to You've Got a Thing. My name is Jeffrey Moser. I'm a director and educator here in Milwaukee, and I'm your host for today. And today I'm joined with someone who I have the pleasure of working with about a year ago, started working with maybe a year ago now, Posy Knight, who's joining us from 53212 Presents, representing 53212 Presents this time, but she does so many other things around the neighborhood. So welcome, Posy. How are you doing today?
Thanks so much. I'm doing great. Excited to be here. Thanks, Jeffrey. Congratulations on your show. I have been tuning in each week and love everything that you're doing with
Hey.
Quasimondo and the Rep. Yeah, great work.
Yeah, hey, thanks. You can come back again and again. It's that kind of a show, so I hope you do. We're here to talk about DANCETERIA, and I know that this has been a thing that you've been doing for a while, and I mean virtually for sure. Can you tell us a little bit more about? Can you tell us about a little bit about the origin and maybe how it found its way to this internet
Absolutely.
phenomena?
So I have a dance background and have gone through a lot of different transitions in my life, and now am grounded in sort of this belief I'm an anti-disciplinarian. I am a creative consultant. I do what I need to do. But at some point about 2 years ago, I was choreographing a piece for a show called I'm a Father Under Construction. It was a devised work, and one of my dancers was unable to perform, and I needed to step in. And there was an element of contact improvisation in the piece. And there I am on stage, lifting dancers, giving my weight to dancers. And I realized there is no place in Milwaukee for dancers to practice this outside of a rehearsal setting. You know, it's like you go into a job, you have choreography, you know, it's like everything is very product based. There isn't a lot of space in Milwaukee for dancers and other types of artists and just people who want to explore movement. There's really no safe space for them to just come and play. And so I decided that I was going to set aside that space. At the time we were located, 53212 Presents was located on Center Street above Company Brewing. And on Saturdays, we would just open up our space for 3 hours. It was suggested donation. We would sometimes have a live musicians. Live musicians could come and improv. Sometimes we would have a different choreographer host and provide the playlist. And so that's sort of where it started, was just recognizing that we are all so caught in our hustle. When do we take time to actually explore our own voices? You know, how do you know how Jeffrey moves if Jeffrey doesn't have a space and a time to be you outside of a job?
So then the opportunity to come in and move myself and move with others and understand, like, take inspiration from others and find the way to move, to enjoy my body and to enjoy the space with other people. That's fantastic. So when you found your way back to, so this didn't stop once the Zoom world started, right? So, like, can you tell us about how that transition happened?
We have had some stops and starts just by virtue of like participating in the protests. We took a hiatus over the summer, but we have had different virtual events and stretches of virtual events. And it actually grew and transitioned really wonderfully in the virtual world. And I hear a lot, I hate Zoom, I hate Zoom, I hate Zoom. And I have to say that DANCETERIA online with Zoom actually has made me a huge fan of Zoom, because I personally believe that what else was the computer invented for other than to make art, right? I mean, like, in my mind, everything here is fair game for an artist and for a creative process. And so I definitely took Zoom to the next level for myself creatively, and it just evolved. And we would have, you know, people from all over the world tuning in, using multiple devices, you know, actually playing with the medium as an art form. And as you'll see when we watch a little clip from the event, it's almost like painting with video. Zoom, I like the lo-fi quality of Zoom. And so as an artist, I really enjoy the distortion that we can create, and also like playing with perspective. You know, at one point I had 2 cameras set up on the opposite end of a hall, so you would see me from the back and the front at the same time. And as you mentioned, like, the community, I'm watching other dancers, you know, that split screen, that Brady Bunch screen, but wow, like Isla in DC is over here laying on her coffee table, and like Lindsay's with her daughter in the backyard in Tosa, and you know, Molly is in her bedroom in River West, and our DJ was in Colorado. And so we really have people tuning in from all over. And it'll be interesting this Sunday because we'll have 12 people in person, as well as our usual Zoom live stream and a live musician as well, which I'm super excited about.
Very cool. And the thing that I love, and for those of you who are audio only right now, we're seeing a great video of DANCETERIA on the side here with, like you said, sort of Brady bunched. Everybody sort of compiled together into a series of Zoom screens. And it is really amazing. I agree with you that there is some fascination that happens when you do watch these. When I'm watching that clip in particular, you start looking for similarities and parallels and connections between all of those different things. And if you watch the video by itself, you have this great beat in the background, so you can see where people are connecting. But then you're like, okay, so what else is tying these folks together? I totally agree with you that the internet was made for us to connect, right? It's to connect, to make art, to connect ideas together at the very least, right? It's a web, right? That's the whole idea. But I love the way that you think about this as like colors on a palette, or like finding ways to paint together. Like I said, I think we were talking about this just briefly, about how it looks like a video installation. Like it looks like I'm trying to find juxtapositions in between these things. So I find this super satisfying and fun to watch. With this video content and with in-person stuff, do you ask everybody to join in, or can you sit back and sort of watch as a voyeur or just a watcher? Can you watch, or do you have to participate?
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because that was definitely a shift that happened going from in-person to virtual. When it was in person, we did have couches and water, and actually we were using projector at one point, so we had some videos showing, and so it definitely was a place where people could chill and be on the periphery, but it felt much more like intimate and participatory. I think with the introduction of the virtual media, the DJs brought their own audiences themselves who may or may not have been dancers. And so then there was more of a voyeuristic element. And sometimes those folks don't turn their cameras on, and I don't see a problem with that. I think that you can participate on sort of whatever level is interesting you. And especially now that we are collaborating with live musicians like Alan Russell, there's a reason to tune in just to listen as well as to participate and to watch. Yeah, no judgment. It really is a space to play. So it's important that we maintain that sense of safety and fun at all times. I think dancing publicly is one of the scariest things that many people will face. But I will be honest with you, as an art educator, I went to a professional development at Linden Sculpture Garden, and we stood in a circle and everyone had to just play a game where we proposed a movement. And even amongst visual art educators, people who appreciate arts, everyone was very uncomfortable to just propose one movement idea with their body. And it made me really sad culturally for people who aren't in touch with their sort of sensual experience as a living, breathing human being. It's sad to me that our fear of how we look stops us from closing our eyes. That's why I said it's important we don't have mirrors. It's important that we don't have mirrors, because I can close my eyes and I can be present with myself. And it actually can take a long time to get in touch with deprogramming the patterns of movement. And all of a sudden I'm discovering this backspace behind me, and I'm moving in ways I wouldn't normally move, and you realize, wow, 99% of the time I move I do 3 things all the time, over and over and over again. And so I think it's really important that we're stepping outside of that and stretching and moving and also, again, hopefully once we're safer in person, actually physically connecting as well would be amazing, to let people carry you and to feel strong supporting other people. It's not just symbolic, it's actual practice. We have to practice physically supporting one another too.
Yeah, practicing our kinesthetic knowledge, because I think that we are so afraid to know that we can sense things with just our senses, like our physicality, our bodies, however they move, wherever they move. I think that's so important. And I'm so glad you're allowing that. You're giving that permission for folks. And that's so good. I think that's half of it too, is like, no one asks you, hey, give me a gesture. No one asks you those things, right? So like when you're standing in a circle, you're like, oh, I'm supposed to do a sound and emotion. I don't know how to do those things at the same time.
Like not having permission to propose, like being so afraid of making a mistake that you actually are physically blocked.
Yeah.
And it's all very fascinating. And I actually think dancers do some of that too. Like, I actually think that people who are trained also need to deprogram,
Like, yes, like you're saying, programmed. Everyone has been told that there's the right way and a wrong way to it, right? Like, so, as well as I do that ballet is very strict in a particular way. And so ballet can be like, oh, there's a right way, there's a Russian way, or there's not a Russian way, it's right or it's wrong. And that's really hard. Like, how do you find the gray area beyond that? The beautiful spaces that, are untouched because it's somehow incorrect. And that's really hard to find. And I applaud you for like giving that space for folks. That's super cool.
I took that space for myself too. I should.
Yeah.
It's like when you're running these events, like sometimes, a good week for DANCETERIA would be in person. It would be 10 to 12 participants in person, but sometimes 3 people would come. But I'd have this trombonist playing a chord on the piano, giving me some crazy music. And then over here, we'd have someone on the mic doing like, fake stand-up comedy. And then I'd be in this music vocalize, the most amazing improvs happen in the DANCETERIA space. But it did bring me back actually to that I'm a Father show, because at that same time that I was creating, the question was sort of like, the show was a devised show about parenting, queer parenting, and then also being a child growing up gay in a straight family. It was just sort of examining all those different aspects and dynamics that happen with kids and parents. And I thought to myself, who were my gay fathers? Who were the gay men in life that really impacted me? And right at the top of my list, John Cage. Some people still think dance is like a formulaic thing, but I grew up in the postmodern world where anything is dance. Just walking, just being still can be dance. And so like, rather than thinking of dance as this intimidating, training required thing, it's saying the natural impulses that come from us are all valid. It's all valid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Where do you see, like, it sounds like we're coming back in person. And do you see this virtual content carrying over into like in-person programming? Like, is there room for the mashup to continue between virtual and in-person and internet space and dance space and like physical proximity to one another?
I think that we feel at 53212 Presents that for a time it needs to be necessary, understanding that there are still many folks who are unable to join us in person. And so that's a part of being accessible, is continuing to offer virtual programming. And DANCETERIA, I think, is a good fit because it doesn't require much of a stage manager aside from someone admitting people at the door. For more production heavy theatrical events, I think that it's going to be a really great opportunity for companies that can do a good job technically and have that support. It'll really be a possibility to expand audiences, the fact that you can be virtual and in person, but it is a huge investment. I mean, I think Kirk and I both personally have invested a lot of time, money, and energy into learning and utilizing digital tools and sort of like embracing that journey. But it is expensive and it's time consuming and it also is stressful because there are a lot of things that are out of your control when you're talking about internet. It does feel like, but for DANCETERIA for the foreseeable future, I see it being a hybrid event because I don't want to lose these participants in San Francisco and Barcelona and London and New York, like all these dancer friends I've worked with my whole life that now have scattered to the winds. I want to keep bringing those audiences in to our Milwaukee community and also give our Milwaukee dancers like new audiences too. Like, I think it's a cool thing. What do you think? Do you think Quasi is going to continue to sort of offer hybrid programming?
I don't know that I'm I don't want to speak to that right now. I'm not entirely. I think that my personal take. I won't speak for Quasimondo, but I'll speak for myself in that I think that for the time being, I think there's got to be the use of this material is going to fester into both realms. I think we're going to find a way to make structure, continued structure on both ends. I think that 100% in either is not true from here on out in either capacity. And because this entire year of pandemic has burned into us a new sense of knowledge and a new memory, something else that we will reach into. So like in 5 years, when you see a projection on the back wall of the theater or of the concert or of whatever you're doing, you're going to be connecting to some moment where you were on a screen for a full year. And so I think that the psychological impact of the past year will be used in art through screens, and it'll mean something differently, because I know I've seen a lot of theater where, projections and content like that has been used, but the liveness and the mediation of screens has something that has been played with for so long. And I think specifically about Worcester Group in New York, among others, but like they are very prominent in using live video on stage, of video being taken on stage. And so like the mediation of things is really fascinating there. So I don't think,
I was going to say too, like maybe I wasn't as allergic to Zoom to begin with, because I personally have been making a push to include technology more. Again, it sort of is like a knowledge base and a resources, right? Like a budget to have the equipment. But as someone who designs sets and is into set design and is into art direction, I have been a little bit actually feeling that the Milwaukee dance scene wasn't using technology to their advantage prior to, and that this is like an opportunity to finally catch up and really recognize the role that film has in archiving work, presenting work, and being a part of like an interactive environment. So I do think that, like you said, people have like awakened to, this is like essential.
Yeah.
This is essential now. And for a long time we were sort of saying, oh, can I really afford to film my show? And now you're like, damn, I wish I had filmed that show and spent that whatever $600 so that my piece can now live on forever. I feel like our community makes a lot of disposable work. If you don't archive your work, then how can you preserve it and bring it back?
But isn't that the important thing, is to let art be ephemeral?
I don't know. Other art forms aren't ephemeral.
I mean, it is of the moment, right? Like it speaks to a moment, and then once that moment has passed, poof, right? I don't know. No, but I think that's the magic of that's one of the great things of theater, is like, or of dance, is like you can quote unquote only see it in real time, in the moment, right? So like when I watch something and I say, oh, that could only have happened tonight, or that only happened tonight, that was amazing. Like I saw some beautiful, stunning thing, or something random happened that night that would never ever happen again. There's things like that you can't predict. But one thing you said that I find really interesting, you said interactive. And I actually think that one of the things, and this is a total aside, but I also think that, we have not yet, we've been Zooming a lot, but we haven't been VRing a whole lot. I'm very conscientious of the fact that I think that art is going to start jumping. Art, meaning, sorry, I should say theater and dance, I think are going to start lending themselves into VR. And so the collaboration with VR, I think, is coming up fast and furious. It's right behind us and we don't even know it. But anyway, that's just one thing I had to touch on.
I agree with you. I think there's a lot of exciting partnerships that are bubbling up. But again, it brings me back to like the grandfathers, the old greats in dance, like Merce Cunningham. I mean, in the 60s, this guy is partnering with computer labs like MIT to utilize technology in the creation of their dances. I was going to address the ephemeral question though, because it may feel ephemeral to the audience, and I guess as a performer it's true. Performances, they come and they go, and it is a special time when you're on stage. But I I sort of feel like I've come to a place where I'm never not an artist. I'm always an artist, even if I'm a maintenance artist in this moment in my life, because I am doing some of the work that needs to get done in order to support the work on stage. So I don't know how ephemeral art really is. I think it's a concrete thing that we live and breathe, that keeps us alive and sustains us. And so it's a little bit of an illusion that it's ephemeral. I mean, I think art can really impact you and really change your life, and it can live within you. And so maybe my performance to an outsider feels like something that comes and goes, you know, it's like hard to even explain it with words, but to me, it's in my DNA forever. And as much as I've tried to move on from dance, you know, it like has a hold on me. You know, I think the arts has a hold on you. It becomes who you are. And I hope that more people can enjoy that feeling of becoming within the art, rather than seeing art as something to observe from the outside. It's something concrete that you can enjoy, you can incorporate into every part of your life.
Yeah. Zachary Dean says, we are in a new age of mixing artistic mediums. Would be great to have an archive for Milwaukee arts like the Lincoln Center does. Can we have an archive for all of these great pieces? I dig that. Yeah. I dig that a lot. I do want to say that one quick thing. I want to bring it back around to DANCETERIA and say, so we talking about collaboration. Alan Russell, can you talk a little bit about him and his role in your next piece here on April 11th?
You know, Alan and I kind of go way back. Alan has worked for at least 6 years with DanceWorks. He is a composer, an accompanist, and he's going to be performing as a musician at DANCETERIA. He is most famous for playing the violin, and he has an electric extension so he can connect his violin directly to his mixing table. So in the performance, Alan is actually creating and sampling from the music he's playing live, and then layering it with intricate rhythms and silences and ambient noise and music. And so it's a really special, he's actually improvising his performance with us. And, you know, I hope and I assume probably responding to what he's seeing from the dancers in the space or the vibe that he's sensing in the room. So it's really special to have a musician like that. In the past, we've had sort of more traditional electronic DJs, and that also has been successful. Haven't heard any complaints there either. I think the goal is to have something eclectic, a little bit open for interpretation, so that we can all be inspired and all kind of drop in. I don't know, when's the last time you went to a club, Jeffrey? Do you have fond memories of letting loose in a club? Was that ever a thing that you enjoyed in your life? A little dance club moment. The lights are down. There's like lots of people on all sides. Maybe there's a little bit of like skin, some alcohol. The hope is that you sort of relax and drop into it and enter like a mindful state so that you can really enjoy the movement fully.
Yeah, I totally dig that. I haven't been in a club in a hot minute. Like, and in a hot minute, I mean, maybe ever. I don't know that I've ever enjoyed the thump. But anyway, that regardless,
like you need some medicine.
What I do love and I have loved and I've experienced before is that amazing like live mixing of sound in the moment. And so I'm really pumped for that in the way that it sounds like Alan is really gonna mix it up for you and make a really compelling process.
We're just gonna see what happens with the 11th, you know.
That's great. And I mean, you know, what I presume would happen is he's responding to the moment too. So like everybody's reflexive and responsive in that. That's so cool. Tell me again, I don't think we've said it yet. So for the folks at home, this is happening Sunday, April 11th from 10:30 to noon.
That's right.
And for people to be there, they have to pre-register. Is that right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
In order for us to follow COVID safety guidelines and make sure that everyone is comfortable, we are asking that all participants pre-register. Participants that are going to be participating virtually, they'll receive a link in the confirmation email with the login information. Participants that are coming in person, and there are limited spots, I think we're having a total of 12 people in person. And we're not totally sold out. There are a few spots left, so I encourage you to jump on to the website and pre-register for a ticket. those folks will actually need to show up at 10:15 in order to go through the temperature check and everything, all the procedures before we actually start the event at 10:30. It will be social distanced. Everyone will be required to wear masks. But we have a huge space. So we're actually starting with 12 because that was a number I was comfortable with. I also have been sort of tiptoeing back into in-person events, and I just want to make sure that I'm giving care to every single participant who comes in the door, that they, again, feel safe and comfortable. Yeah, so it's this Sunday, 10:30 to 12. Yeah, stop in.
Folks should stop in.
It's just a donation. So, you know, and that's a real thing. So don't feel obligated to donate. You can just come on in and join us. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Great. And as it's coming up in the chat, you can all see it. It's 53212.
No shoes required. No shirt, no shoes required. You know, like, do your thing.
It's a club. No. 53212presents.org/DANCETERIA, and that is in the chat down below. Y'all should be able to see that, hopefully, with whatever platform you're watching on. People should arrive 15 minutes early so that they can get their temperature checked. And
that's right. In-person participants, you'll get a pretty detailed confirmation email to give you sort of like the guidelines for participating in person.
And what is the physical space that you will be checking people in at?
So there is a new space that's bubbling up. It's in River West. It's called the West River Collective. It's kind of like a public market for industrial artists. So there's a glass blower there. There's a boxing ring there. There's a bicycle repair shop. There's an aerial artist, Cream City Flyers. House of Rad is there. Several designers, including Jason Fassel and Anti Shadows. It's a collective of artists on its 3700 block of Fratney. So it's sort of the quiet end of River West. Yeah, Tori Watson, come check it out. You guys, you won't believe it. It's like a little bit hush hush. We're not really ready for performances yet. But for small event classes and workshops and things like that, we're ready to receive you and show you around. And it's going to feel so good to be able to actually like walk across a big stage.
Right.
Yeah, the stage is probably 60 feet by 30 feet. It's huge. So yeah, very, very exciting.
Posy, this sounds amazing, and I can't wait. I hope it's amazing for y'all. Everybody go check it out. Thank you, Posy, for all of your time today, and thanks for talking so much about every idea that springs to our mind. I love it every single time. So thank you for being so generous with your time and brain space.
No, I love it. Happy to be here.
Great, thank you.
I have to tell you, well, first of all, you guys are great. And I love Posy. I'm just going to profess that out loud. I'm a little disappointed in Facebook this morning because they decided to block my commenting on Facebook for whatever insane reason they've come up with now. So, boo, Facebook. Boo.
I don't know what to tell you. Maybe, I don't know, you have too many political postings? Maybe that's maybe they caught you.
About AOL, and that seemed to be where the line was drawn in the sand. They're like, AOL. Zuckerberg's all like, no AOL on my platform. So
if you mention AOL on Facebook, you're put on a list somewhere. It's a blacklist.
You know, it's
over.
Like, it's you and the Nazis, you know? Yeah, Zach says that Facebook is glitching this week. I noticed that too. They're something is upset in the Matrix. Like something is, for all you young kids out there, go and watch The Matrix. It was a great movie 50 years ago. Speaking of technology and VR and all the line. Yeah. So yeah, check out. I always read DANCETERIA, and I read it as DANCETERIA, you know, like my high school Spanish comes back, and that's because that's just how my brain works, you know. It's like, we're going to go to DANCETERIA.
It's one of those romantic language words. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Totally romantic. The way that you all were talking about it was totally romantic, with bare feet and whole nine and fetishes and all of it. elsewhere in the community, we have coming up Jan soon. I think that's a word, Jan soon.
Mm-hmm.
Village Playhouse has their evening with Shaw one-act plays. It's starting this next week, Thursday, April 15th. It's 3 pieces: Overruled, Passion, Poison, and Petrification, and How He Lied to Her Husband by George Bernard Shaw. I like saying Bernard. I was thinking about that this morning. Bernard and George Bernard Shaw. And so there you can go to villageplayhouse.org to find out more information about that. And then as far as from the Milwaukee Theater Alliance is concerned, we did start our open forums on the Milwaukee Theater Standards. We're trying to get the word out about this, that the Milwaukee Theater Standards are a document that we've started working on in the community and with the Theater Alliance, a committee of that we've called Not in Our House. Not in Our House is a term borrowed from Chicago theater. There's like a long history of how this whole thing came to be, but essentially the Milwaukee Theater Standards are a document to sort of change the ecosystem in Milwaukee and provide for just better, healthier spaces, more inclusive spaces for the whole of Milwaukee artists. And so these are open forums. You can go to MilwaukeeTheaterAlliance.org and sign up to be a part of that. We just had the second one last night. That went really well, and so our next one is coming up on Monday, April 19th at 7 p.m. And you can, just this is I want to say it's a big deal. A lot of people worked and continue to work as we pull in more people into the fold, working on this document. We're really excited about it. We're really excited about hopefully the changes that will come out of this. And this is a long-term thing. This is a 5, 10, 15, 20, like forever, thing that we're looking at. But we'd love to have more voices involved is the point. So go to Milwaukee Theater. And that's theatrealliance.org for more intel on that. And then I always just want to mention Imagine MKE, who allows us to use this wonderful platform that we use here. I'm always trying to encourage people to become arts advocates. Imagine is one of the best at pulling people together and offering resources on how you can get better involved in the community and talk to your, senators and government people about why the arts are important and why Wisconsin needs to not be 49th in arts funding anymore. And they will help you with all of that. It's always like, but I can't come up with an email and who are my people and who are this. Just go over to imaginemke.org/act. And they will offer you all kinds of the help to facilitate your desires to be an arts advocate. I'm encouraging everyone to be an arts advocate. So, but you can do that. And then what else did I have here? Milwaukee Chamber Theaters, The Way She Spoke is closing this weekend, and then Renaissance Theater's Neat is also closing this weekend. Virtual events that you can go and watch and enjoy. And then Quasimondo. Do you want to talk about that for
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have 3 more weekends of You Are Here You Are, which is an empathetic event, meaning that we will it's a house party at your house. And so we encourage you to come, bring drinks, we'll order the pizza, but you can eat it out of your oven, wherever you get it. But please join us. We have 3 more events. Saturdays at 8 p.m. We've had some really stellar audiences. It's been a lot of fun really connecting with people from, as Posy said, all across the country, all across the world. We've had international audiences. It's been super cool. So we're excited to keep it going for 3 more weekends. Pay what you can. And a majority of our profits go to Mental Health America. So
Yes.
After we pay actors and pay for props and all the details, profits.
And Zoom. Cheers, Zoom.
You're right. Exactly.
Right. But it's limited seating, right? So like get those
That's right. Get those virtual tickets early because we just had a great review in the Shepherd, and so pick up your tickets early. We do want these to be small houses because that's how it sort of works.
Right.
How it works best is with small houses, small intimate audiences. So that's the goal.
I also want to shout out the Shepherd Express. I feel like to us small guys, they are there for us, and I bless their hearts, and I thank them so much for being there for us little guys. So yeah, go check that out. So thank you so much for being here, sir. It was great to have you again.
Thanks for having me back again. Thanks, everybody.
We look forward to having you back another time in the future, because we try to be here weekly for everybody all the time. We want to be the one constant in people's lives.
I think that's felt. I think that's appreciated very much. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We try. But yeah, we're talking with some people about next week. Haven't really locked down a guest yet, but I'll tell you what, I think Posy's going to host, right? Or unless she's like locked up in school or something like that. But that's the way that we roll around here, is like, the person who is a guest is the next week's host. So hopefully we'll be able to get her back, because Posy's good with that shit. So, but thank you all out there for being out there, and hope to see you all next week on You've Got a thing.